Some of my clarity comes from modeling myself after a woman who was 60 when I met her 15 years ago. And she just listens to spirit and does what spirit says do.
Slowly, as your thoughts wander, 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 wander.
You said peace? Look around. Where you see this peace at? Because I don't see it, and I damn sure don't feel it. But let me tell you what I do feel. I feel sadness. I feel loneliness. I feel like I'm drowning inside, like I'm screaming, and no one is around to hear me.
When you're like at school or whatever and you're like, I'm sick, like I'm gonna throw up, everyone's like, all right, like go away, like go throw up, like go be like physically sick somewhere else. But if like to say to a teacher, like I can't do this right now because like I'm like gonna have a panic attack, or like I'm like, you know, I'm really struggling with something.
Cerraron las salas de emergencia, las salas de urgencia, se dieron menos pacientes y todos estábamos aislados. Algunos doctores no estaban, las oficinas estaban cerradas. Esos procedimientos se han movido,
sí, la sala,
se han atrasado.
Sí, correcto, pues las salas de operaciones se utilizaron para los pacientes críticamente enfermos por el COVID al principio de la pandemia.
I've even used my confused cats for videos in the past.
Step 1, prepare the elements you want to use. Paper cutouts, drawings, objects like toys or food, anything that is the right size to fit in your frame.
I think that, you know, we, because of our cultural mistrust of many systems, including the mental health system, we've always gone to alternative sources for support. And there comes a point when those sources are no longer sufficient.
I sometimes like to hold some stones while I'm talking, so I'm going to hold a stone while you hold your goldfish, and then we can just talk. Okay, so let's just start with something easy. What's your name?
But our basic mission started out to be helping formerly incarcerated people to find housing, find employment, and connect with the necessary resources to move them forward.
Vestida y trajeada del Día de Muertos. Ese maquillaje ya le voy a colocar, es increíble. Yo felicito a esta gente que cada vez se come más.
So now this is where crime comes into play, because you get petty theft. And sometimes when it starts being petty theft, it can become bigger and bigger. So lack of education is causing, you know, a major difference in our neighborhoods.
Watch people taking classes together and doing shows together, and you know, and just enjoying each other's company and exchanging ideas. You see what I call, it's like this magic, right? This magic that looks like it's a social resonance.
Financial literacy is the main thing. That's why they don't teach it in school, because corporate needs worker bees. If I teach you everything I know, then I won't have nobody to work and make me rich.
Breonna Taylor, quite similar to the good brother Botham Jean out of Texas. She was murdered in her own home while in her house.
Meaning punitive. That's the basis of the whole. That's so systemic that it was in that system that you were sent there to be punished. That was the concept. But that concept is also consistent when you look at the philosophy that we have in the Western philosophy.
By sort of divesting from public goods and services like, you know, the welfare state, public schools, public parks, art and civic institutions, you'll see that they don't provide those benefits. They don't act as those engines of socioeconomic mobility.
Where we speak about justice and act upon it, from issues from gun violence to hunger to voting rights to food insecurity to housing, whatever our community is suffering, that's where we have to be.
So I would say that that it's both around the ability to access the care to get appointments, quickly, and also the quality of the care that those families are receiving.
So let's tell them who runs these streets.
We do. We do.
Whose labor is this?
Ours.
Whose bodies are this?
Ours.
Whose rights are this?
Ours.
Ella muere allí y el de ira, el hombre inca dice, toda la nobleza que le quede de experiencia, que nadie se puede rebelar contra sus superiores, contra mí que soy el inca, toda la nobleza va a ir por ese pozo también y los tira toditos. Es de venganza.
We've had a lot of focus on the border without a lot of focus on the experiences of women and girls at the border.
Well, I'll say for myself that there have been times where I have had a heavy heart at the nail salon. And after I finished getting my nails done, they were pretty, but my heart wasn't any lighter.
Okay.
You know, so I've had, and I mean, my hair is impeccably styled and still feeling what I'm feeling.
So I come into work and nobody says anything. And so when the manager comes in the evening, I was like, did you tell, you know, the owners, the employers? And she's, yeah, a detailed description. She's got, you know.
Bring our country to a standstill if we don't get the kind of urgent and swift action that we need, right? Like tackling the climate crisis is immense. It is a bigger project than humanity has ever undertaken collectively before.
Jill and her company, I'm not sure our team is completely ready to take the time to teach the job to the individual because of some of the disabling conditions that might need to be accommodated for. This OJT...
Always tell people the truth about working for Amazon. You have to prepare yourself mentally and physically. You work long hours, you're on your feet all day, 10 plus hours a day. And if you have a gym membership, you might want to cancel it. That's always used to be my favorite line.
People made some really interesting arguments. Here's Lincoln. He says, armies cannot be maintained unless desertion shall be punished by death. Must I shoot a simple-minded soldier boy who deserts, while I must never touch a hair of a wily agitator who induces him to desert?
A law that can be directed against speech found offensive to some portion of the public can be turned against the minority and dissenting views to the detriment of all. The First Amendment does not entrust that power to a government's benevolence. Instead, our reliance must be on the substantial safeguards of free and open discussion in a democratic society.
There have been several generations of jail crises here. Bail and pretrial detention decision-making has always been a big part of that.
When I first received my bail, it was $10,000, and you had to pay 10%, and makes it $1,000 to get out.
It's the idea that like people want to change America, and what the only way that it can live up to its words is that you have to take the America out of America.
Was there one moment in particular where you thought you would not be able to breathe, where you weren't going to be able to get up, where you didn't even want to get up, where maybe you wanted to die, and even thought about the possibility of how you would make that happen?
And we found that the two maps of gun violence and food insecurity overlap so intimately, almost like a snug glove. And it makes sense, right? The food insecurity and gun violence share many of the same risk factors of poverty, of deep-seated systemic marginalization and racism.
They think about what they're going to leave to their family before they think about how they're going to take care of themselves in retirement. Don't start giving stuff away before you see Don and say, okay, what do I need to get through this period of time? You know, and how do I get there?
Preventing violence is a full-time job. In addition to responding directly to crises, we could run education programs for the youth, serve as street counselors, and connect people to resources to remedy problems in their lives. We could help the kid work in the corner prevent his grandma's foreclosure by connecting her to housing counselors.
Decarceration means reduce the prison population,
Mr. James should not be incarcerated. He was incarcerated for countless years because he was in possession of crack cocaine. We need to transform the system of correction we have today, and we won't need any new prisons if we let people go back to their loving families.